Hey yo, you ever be in a relationship where technically y'all still together, but emotionally it feels like you're carrying a couch upstairs by yourself? We all been there. You see, even in the relationship, nobody cheated, nobody left, nobody screamed, I'm done. And you might have heard that, but they didn't mean it. But somehow everything just feels heavy. See, what most people think that means that is that the relationship is over. Nah, it's some work that has to be done because it's something that's deeper and it's broken, right? And nobody talks about that, right? We go through build up in our relationships because they're not expressing certain things and then we explode. But people think relationships fail because of cheating, lying, disrespect, or finances, money. And those are big issues. They do fucking matter. But sometimes the relationship just doesn't die because of one big thing. Sometimes it dies slowly. I want y'all to think about it like a phone that keeps draining even though you ain't using no apps. You ever look at your phone and be like, yo, I'm already at 17%. I ain't even leave the house yet. Word is bond, I'll be on that. That's what emotional weight feels like. You're still functioning. You're still talking. You're still doing regular life. But internally, you're drained, y'all. And it's a space that sometimes most of us don't recognize that we label it as fatigue from other shit and all that. But here's the real issue. You see, most people think love is enough, y'all. Love is not enough. Love without alignment becomes confusion. See, we got to understand what alignment means, man. And for me, alignment means like sharing some goals. Communication has to be clear, accountability, teamwork. You want to be safe emotionally because you can love somebody deeply and still not know how to operate together. That's the scary part. You see, two people can still create a difficult relationship and still coexist with each other. And it's not because they're bad, but because they never learn how to build systems together. And I'm learning this, that systems are being real for me, so I have to include it in my relationship. So let's be honest, a lot of relationships run like projects at school, group projects. One person doing all the work at one moment, the other person saying, yeah, we got this. No, we don't. I got this. You're just emotionally supervising the situation. And then somehow when the grade come back low, everybody confused. That's what relationships are like, y'all. See, like you want to keep score and all that, but yet again, somebody's not putting in the work. Teamwork is important, and that's what we say. But secretly, everybody's keeping score, and we can't keep score. These are obligations that we have to fulfill on our own. We signed up for some of this shit. So pain can't heal. Weight accumulates. See, pain is one argument. Weight is 10 arguments that never got resolved. Pain is one bad moment. Weight is constantly feeling misunderstood. Pain happens. Weight stays. And after enough time, you start asking yourself, man, do I really love this person? But don't ask that. Start asking this. Why does this feel so hard all the time? See, that's when people start emotionally withdrawing, when they start feeling like it's too much pain or it's too much weight. Not because they don't care, but because carrying emotional weight gets exhausting, y'all. And y'all know what that feel like. We all do. And see, this is where communication has to come in because people think communication just means talking, y'all. No, it doesn't just mean that. It also means clarity. You can talk every day. You can still never communicate. That shit is crazy. It sounds weird. You can say what you eating. Are you picking up the kids today? Did you pay the bills? Real talk, we think that's communication. That's not communication. That's logistics. Real communication sounds like, yo, this is what hurt me today. And this is what I need. Female or male. This is what I'm afraid of. This is what I want us to become. That's communication. But here's a layer nobody talks about, especially for men. And I want to hit this on the nose. Where we begin changing our lives and shifting, most men, we lose old environments. We lose certain friendships. We stop participating in negative habits, right? We stop hanging around the same individuals that was bringing us that. So we're trying to change. And often the partner becomes now the main emotional space left for that person to be vulnerable, that man. That's where vulnerability actually becomes complicated because many men struggle with this question. Can I be fully vulnerable here or will this later become a weapon? That fear is real, y'all. Not because men don't want to communicate, but because men sometimes have learned that vulnerability can sometimes be misunderstood as weakness, and we don't want to look that. And when vulnerability feels unsafe, men stop opening up. We become quieter, more reserved, more lighthouse than human, actually. And lighthouse is important. We got to keep that in mind. But this is where relationships can quietly disconnect, because a man may still love deeply but stop sharing deeply. Not because he doesn't trust love, because he no longer trusts the emotional safety. And the emotional safety matters, y'all. Especially for us men. We out here doing all this shit. Men, we need spaces where vulnerability does not become ammunition against us. If a person cannot hold you, your truth with your kid, stop bringing your truth to them. That's a conversation couples need to have early. We got to, do this. Can I be vulnerable without losing respect? That question right there in itself changes relationships from the gate. And you set the standard from there, and the boundary from there, and accountability from the gate. See, one of the hardest things in relationships is accountability, y'all. It's tough. Because everybody wants to be understood, but everybody wants to admit impact. And there's a difference between the two. I didn't mean to hurt you, and I understand how my actions affected you. That second one, that repairs trust, y'all. Like, how you phrase something means something. See, that also creates safety. That's how relationships are built, communication in that way. So here's the truth, man. I want to break it down, man. Pardon me for going in, but relationships don't survive because people just love each other, y'all. Relationships survive because people know how to work together. Ask anybody that's married for a long time. And if you're in a season where something feels heavy, don't immediately assume it's dead. Just ask yourself some questions, or ask yourself this. Are we disconnected, or are we misaligned? Because there's a difference, y'all. And sometimes the answer is not leaving. Sometimes the answer is honesty. Sometimes the answer is just systems. Sometimes the answer is accountability, y'all. And sometimes you got to stop asking who's right. Fuck that. Start asking, what are we building? And what is this doing? We got to get on that, man. So listen, y'all, this is King Freedom, Free Facts Media. If this hit home, drop the word alignment, man, because that's the word of the day, too. And I know it was the word of the day before, but it's the word of the day today because of today's topic. And follow for more real conversations about discipline, relationship, mindsets, and emotional intelligence, man. This is King Freedom, Freedom of Law, Free Facts Media here. Real rap, no cap, all facts. Salute. Peace.